What's up and welcome back to another video, guys. Today I'm going to be ranking every clone trooper that LEGO has ever made. Now this list is my personal opinion, so feel free to leave your own lists down in the comments whether you agree or disagree with mine. And also, I'm not going to be ranking every single individual clone trooper because there are some variants that are pretty much exactly the same, like the phase 1s with different armor, the phase 2 Gree with a different colored band around the leg, and stuff like the P1 Fox with different variants like that. I'm going to be ranking all of those as just the same clone trooper because it seems kind of redundant to rank them differently when they're pretty much exactly the same, just with small variations. So without further ado, let's get right on into this ranking. Now, starting off in last place, and this doesn't mean that they're necessarily bad minifigures, I just think compared to all of the rest of the minifigures above them, they're just not as good. And in last place, it had to be something, and I chose the 501st Clone Officer from the Battle Pack. I don't think that this minifigure, it just doesn't do it for me. The printed waist cape, the helmet holes, the torso printing, I'm just not a big fan of it, and that's why it's coming in last. It's not a terrible minifigure, it's just something had to come in last, and this is what I ended up picking. Following that up, we have the 332nd Clone Trooper from the Battle Pack with the helmet holes. Once again, this one, I'm not really a big fan of the 332nd to begin with, and I think this one, it just doesn't really look great in my opinion. Next up is the Clone Trooper with the Santa hat. Now, this came out in that advent calendar, and I know the advent calendar did include a helmet for him as well in a different build, but Bricklink lists it as just this Clone Trooper with the Santa hat, and unfortunately, it had to rank down here. Although I do love the festivity, he doesn't have his helmet, so he does not compare to the other Clone Troopers on this list. Following them up, I have the Clone Viewing Pilot with the blue as well as the gray. I ranked the blue just below the gray because I thought the gray looked a little bit better. Following them up, I have Commander Vaughn. And then I have the Phase 2 clone pilots from Episode 3. I have Sand Blue, the sand blue variation, and then I have the normal like gray-white variation below the sand blue, or above the sand blue I mean, and then I have Captain Jag after them. Now I don't mind any of those like clone pilots, I just think they're not, when I think of a clone, that's not really what I think about. I don't think of that variation of the Episode 3 style pilots. I think they're good minifigures, it's just they don't really do it for me. I much prefer the actual like clone armored clone troopers, if you know what I mean. They're still cool characters and they're still cool minifigures, they're just not really my cup of tea. And the same thing going for that is the V-Wing. I have the OG V-Wing pilot. I put him above them just because I think, honestly, the printing on the helmet is better on the old one than it is on the new ones, which is kind of weird. I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks that, but also I just have a soft spot for those OG helmets. And then following them up, I think I have a little bit of a tier break right here, and right after is the 501st Clone Specialist and the 501st Clone Heavy. Now, I actually don't have any issues with these. I love the 501st Clone Specialist because he introduced us to that really nice micro binocular piece, which I've been wanting for so long. We finally got it, and I think it looks great. I don't think there's really any issues with this minifigure. Same goes for the 501st Heavy. I think it's a really well done minifigure. I don't have any issues with it. I just think the stuff above it are a bit better. Now, coming in right after those, a bit of a controversial one. I know some people really love this minifigure. Personally, I don't really care for it. And it's the yellow 212th Trooper. This was, I don't know, I feel like either make it a Star Corp or make it an actual 212th with the proper orange, you know? I don't know. It's not for me. I never really liked it. I know, like, I understand why people like it because it's cool. It's kind of not necessarily rare. I think it's only like a $10, $15 fig, but I don't know. It's not for me. It doesn't do it for me. And following up him, I have the OG Shock Trooper with both the white and black hips because I'm not really counting the variants. Now, I do like these. Like I said, I have a soft spot for the helmet slitted OG Phase 2s. It's just, I think these are my least favorite of the OG Phase 2s, so they had to go down here. And following up them, I have the Phase 1 Clone Sergeants. This one, I really do like all of those kind of clone troopers. The only issue is I think the green just, it doesn't do it for me. It's kind of ugly. It's just, I don't know, it's not pleasant. Like the other colors, I think the red, the blue, as you'll see as they're much higher on this list, are just a lot better than the green for the Sergeant, in my opinion. Next up, after the Sergeant, we have the OG Phase 1 Clone Trooper. Now, this is one that a lot of people are nostalgic for, but this is one, you know, it was before my time, so I don't really have the nostalgia for that Clone Trooper. And honestly, just comparing it to all of the other Clone Troopers that I have above it, it's not as good. I think it's a cool Clone Trooper. It's a really nice piece of LEGO history, but it did have to come down here on the list. Following up him, we have the Clone Commander in P1, the new version. who also doubles as a pilot. You know, you can fly that gunship really well. And that may be part of the bias here. I am kind of upset that we didn't get a clone pilot with the gunship and we got this guy instead. That might be kind of dragging him down, because overall, he's a fine minifigure. I just think the delivery in which we got him is kind of affecting my view on him. We got him in the little clone pack that should have been an army building clone pack and not a, you know, something where you get a named clone trooper, or not a named clone trooper, but you know what I mean, a commander. And he also came in the UCS gunship, which I think coming in the UCS gunship, it should have been an exclusive clone trooper, and it also should have been a pilot, because it's a gunship and it needs pilots and not a commander. But that's just my opinion. I'll get over that and move on to our next clone trooper, which is the 332nd clone trooper without the helmet holes. Now, kind of the same thing for the one with helmet holes. I just put this one higher because I think it looks a lot better without the helmet holes, and it's not really a minifigure that needs the helmet holes to have those attachments added, because the 332nd clone troopers that we saw didn't really have any attachments other than Commander Vaughn. Now, after that, I have Phase 2 Commander Fox. Now, I think this is a bit of an overhated figure, but I do see all its flaws as well, which is why it's down here. The issues with the helmet, the issue with the torso print. Overall, I think he's a pretty nice minifigure, and I'm happy that we got him. It's just unfortunate that he was in the, you know, the quality that we did get him at. Following up him, maybe another one of those hot takes, I have the new Phase 2 Rex. I think he's a great minifigure, and I'm really happy that we got him. You know, everyone, depending on your views on the thoughts of him coming out in the Venator and the Microfighter, personally, I think it should have been, you know, a variation. You know, you'd have two different versions of the Captain Rex. So you can have your more affordable one, but also the exclusive ones for the more collector side of Lego. But overall, I think it's an okay minifigure. I don't think the helmet holes look great. I don't think they look terrible. I don't think it ruins the minifigure. Overall, I think it's a solid minifigure, and I'm happy that we got him. Following up Rex, I have just the normal 501st Clone Trooper with helmet holes. Like I said, not a huge fan of the helmet holes. I don't think it ruins the figure, but I think the version without helmet holes is just a lot better, as you'll see by its placement in this list. Next, I have a large kind of group of just all of the Episode 2 Phase 1 Clone Troopers. Now, I'm a big fan of these, and I really wanted to put them higher. I just couldn't justify it. I think they're all really nice, just the Phase 1 grunts from Episode 2. I don't know, I think they're really nice, but they're basic, which they should be, given that they are the Phase 1 grunts. But I don't know, I feel like they're good at this spot in the list. I think they could have gone a little higher, a little lower, but I like them where I have them. Following up, I just have the OG Phase 2 Clone Troopers. They're a lot higher than I was going to put them, mostly just because I like them a lot. You know, it's my list, so I can be as biased as I want. So that's why they're up here. And following them, I know I said I wasn't going to count variations like clones with jetpacks, but I put the one with the jetpack on this list because look at that jetpack. Tell me that jetpack is not sick, which is why it's one space higher than the normal OG Phase 2. Then, following them up, I have the new version of the 212th Phase 2 Clone Troopers. I think these are pretty great, you know. I think there's not really any glaring issue other than, you know, the helmet holes being in the wrong spot. Other than that, I think they were done really well. Next, after them, I have the Clone Commander Phase 1, but the older version. Now, this one doesn't really do it for me. I think the yellow, it's the shade of yellow, is just kind of too bright for me. It hurts my eyes, and that's why he's down here. Not really any issues with them. I love all of those OG like Phase 1s, you know, just the Episode 2 style Phase 1s, all the named ones with the different markings. It's just there's better clone troopers out there, which is why he is down here. Next is the 327th OG Clone Trooper. Like I said, not really anything wrong with this one. I may have put him a little bit higher than I should have, just because I am nostalgic for those helmets, but I think it's a really good rounded figure overall. Next, I have the Phase 2 Grunt from the Episode 3 style, the older style, and this may get me a little bit of flag that it's below the new one, but I don't know. I think the new one is honestly just a little bit better in my opinion. And that brings us to our next one being the Phase 2 Grunt, the new version. And I know, you know, a lot of people have their opinions on this, and I might get some hate for putting the new one over the old one, but I don't know. I like having the option to put helmet attachments on. I think that's very, like, necessary for a grunt when you kind of want to customize them. And maybe that's me, you know, coming from an era of the 2008 Clone Troopers where I'm used to having helmet holes on all of them, and part of my childhood, most of my childhood with my Clone Troopers was spent customizing them and making my own Clone Troopers, which you can't really do without helmet holes sometimes. So I don't know, maybe it's recency biased, or maybe it's just something to do with that, but Next, after the two Phase 2 clone troopers, I have the Phase 1 Bomb Squad troopers. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I think they're overhated. I know when they came out, a lot of people didn't like them because, you know, they're bright orange, but I think the bright orange is really cool in my opinion, and I like them. It's a nice way to get some variety and color pop in your clone armies, so that's why they are where they are on this list. Next, I have the old version of the Phase 2 501st Clone Troopers. I think, like I said, I'm very nostalgic for these, but personally, I think just this whole like style of the Phase 2 Clone Troopers, I know a lot of people love it, but I don't really. I think the newer version that we have is just better in my opinion. I know I might get some flag for that, but other than the helmet holes, these have nothing else on the other Clone Troopers other than the helmets looking a little bit better, which is why it is here. Following up the 501st Clone Trooper, I have the Shock Trooper in the new variant. I think that this one was done very well. I don't really have any issues with it. It's just a nice rounded clone trooper. Following up that one, I have the old version of the Shock Trooper, not the OG version, just the, you know, the middle one that came out in the Coruscant Guard police gunship. This is one where I think this version is better than the new version. I think the printing is just better, and maybe it's a little bit of nostalgia as I did own that set, but I don't know. I think this one is just more aesthetically pleasing than the other. It just looks better in my opinion. Next up, I have the Phase 1 2008 style gunner. I don't, like I said, not really any issues with this one. Just I'm a fan of it. There's not much going on. It's the gunner, so it gets the job done, but I prefer just the grunts over the gunner. Then I have the 91st Recon Trooper, the OG version. This one's really sick in my opinion, a very underrated one. Then I have the old Phase 2 gunner coming in. I think he's a really good one. Only ever came out in that fighter tank. A very nice, good figure. And after him, I have the new version of the Phase 2 gunner that came out in the ATTE. Once again, a very nice clone trooper in my opinion, and gets the job done. I really like the gunners, and I'm hoping that we see them again some point soon because they're kind of hard to get your hands on given they only came out in one set each. Next up, we have Tech. Now, I love Tech as a character. I think the minifigure doesn't really get the job done. I would have put him lower. It's just I love Tech so much that I had to have him up here. You know, I just think the minifigure, the molds and stuff, it just looks a little goofy in my opinion. I think if he was executed better, he'd be a lot higher on this list. Then, next up, it kind of pains me to put them this low, but I have all of the Phase 1 2008 style clone troopers with all the different armor variations. I wasn't going to count them all just based on if they have a comma or a pauldron because that would take forever. I think they're all really great. They're some of my favorite clone troopers ever made because that is the era that I kind of got into LEGO Star Wars first as a child. They're just perfect in my opinion. They're kind of boring compared to some of the other stuff, which is why they're down here. Next, I have the ARF Trooper. The ARF Trooper, super underrated in my opinion. I'm a big fan of the ARF Trooper, which is why he is all the way up there. And then I have Phase 1 Gree. I think Phase 1 Gree is an overlooked one of the named Phase 1 clone troopers, and I just think he's really good altogether. Then I have the Phase 1 Horn Company Troopers. I love the detail on these guys. I love the color scheme on these guys. They're super sick in my opinion, and I think they are underrated. Then I have Echo, the Bad Batch version. I think there's nothing really wrong with this other than the printed comma, and I think the hand is a little weird. I think we should have gotten that, like a different piece to show his, like, droid hand type thing, if you know what I mean. But overall, a good minifigure, and I had to follow him up with his good buddy Fives. Maybe I would have separated them a little more. I just wanted them together because why not? I think Fives, though, is a really good minifigure. I think, yes, there are some issues like glaring with the helmet and some other things with the legs and stuff like that, and the fact that he doesn't have that comma, which, unfortunate, but overall, I think is a really good minifigure, and I'm happy that we got him. After him, we have the Episode 2 style clone pilot. We need to get more clone pilots. We need to start a petition to get more clone pilots because we have not seen them in so long, and I think they're really cool. And these ones, you know, might be my least favorite of the pilots. I don't know why. I just think the other ones are a little bit better, but overall, I think they are really good. Next up, we have the 501st Clone Trooper from the 2020 Battle Pack without the helmet holes. This is my favorite version of the 501st, hands down. I think it's perfect. There's nothing that I could have asked for, and I think they were really good. Next, after them, I have the 501st Jet Trooper. I think that they are also pretty much perfect. I'm a big fan, and I'm super happy that we got them because I always thought that they were really sick. Then we have the Elite ARF Trooper, one of the most underrated clones in my opinion. I feel like I'm saying that about almost everything here, but I think that they're really sick. I love the maroon markings, and I think they are very underrated, and they're my favorite version of the ARF Trooper, second favorite version of the ARF Trooper, as you'll see later on in this list. Then I have Wrecker. I think Wrecker, really cool. I think, there's a few oddities with his Lego figure, the helmet shape and stuff like that. Could have been done a little differently, but overall, really good figure. I'm a big fan. And the follow-up Wrecker, we have Hunter. I don't really have any issues with Hunter. I think he's a great minifigure, but there's just better minifigures out there. Now, hold on, gotta flip my sheet and we'll move on. I had a little bit of a tier break. Oh no, the tier break is after the 327th Star Corp with the Pauldron. Now, you may be curious why the Pauldron brings them up from, however long ago I said the one without the Pauldron was to now. And I don't know. I think the Pauldron just makes that minifigure a lot better. I know I wasn't going to count variations, but I think the Pauldron adds enough difference to, make a difference on this list. And now I am putting a tier break down, and that's just because we're moving on to some of the bigger minifigures, the cooler minifigures in my opinion, that were so close that like any of these ones that I'm about to say could be swapped like up and down, different variations. It just depends on the day for me, but they can't go swap down below the tier break, if you know what I mean. But the first one after the tier break is going to be the OG Phase 2 Rex. This one, pretty good. Pretty solid minifigure. I love the comma. I love the Pauldron. Overall, I think it's a really great minifigure. The only reason that it's down where it is because it doesn't have the ability to have the helmet attachment. That would have made it one of the best minifigures in my opinion if it could have that rangefinder. But overall, really nice minifigure. Then I have the Phase 1 2008 style Commander Cody. Like I said, I'm way biased toward the 2008 style clones, the Clone Wars clones, which is why they are as high as they are. But I put Cody here because I'm a big fan of Cody. And then following up Cody, I can't have Cody without Rex, so I have the Phase 1 Rex. Personally, actually, I'm going to switch these two. I think Cody is a little bit better than Rex, just given that he has the torso printing and Rex does not. After that, I have the OG version of the 212. I think these 212 super sick. Some of my favorite Phase 2 clones that LEGO has made. I think these were perfect. I have nothing else to say about them. I think they were sick. Then I have the 104th, the Wolfpack in Phase 2. Personally, I prefer the sand blue coloring for the Wolfpack, but I can get behind the gray as well. I really want to see an updated version of these. They're really only up here because I love the helmet print and I just love the Wolfpack, but ideally if LEGO was to do it, they would do it a little bit differently, and I'm hoping that we see them again soon because I'm a big fan of the Wolfpack. Then I have the Geo Airborne and then the Geo Reg right after. I'm a big fan of all of the Geo Clone Troopers, those two. I think they're really cool. I think they're very underrated, and I love that patterning. I don't have any issues with them at all. Then I have the 442nd Siege Trooper, the OG version, a super, well, I guess it's the only version, but I think this one is really good. I think it's my favorite of the OG clone troopers. I think, maybe, I don't know. It's a very cool clone trooper. I don't know if it's my favorite, but I love the green markings, and it's super cool in my opinion, which is why it's as high on the list as it is. Then, one that may be higher than other people thought, I have the 187th Airborne Trooper. I'm a big fan of the 187th, and I think they're pretty perfect. They're some of the best clones that we've gotten in recent years, which is why it is this high up on the list. Following up on that, I have Neo, or the 91st Recon Trooper. I think this was a pretty perfect clone trooper in my opinion, and I think we need to get more Recon clone troopers in LEGO, because I think this one turned out great. Then I have P1 Fox. Yes, this is counting all three variants that there are for P1 Fox. Overall, really nice minifigure. I think there's some great printing on him. Variants, there's not really, the variants just change the torso printing a little bit, but overall, a really nice, solid minifigure. Then I have Phase 2 Cody, the new one that we just got. I think this is the best named clone trooper that we've gotten in recent years. I think he's pretty much perfect. There's only a few things that I would change, but overall, I think he's a very great minifigure. Then I have the Phase 1 Clone Captain. I love this one. I love these clone troopers, this like version variations of the clone troopers with the different markings, or coloring, I mean, from episode 2. I think the maroon is super sick, and it's definitely my second favorite of that style of clone trooper. After the Clone Captain, I have Crosshair. I love this minifigure. I don't know why. It's just like the all black kind of armor. It looks super sick, and I'm a big fan. So that's why he is here on the list. Next, I have the Phase 1 2008 style Clone Pilot. Super sick. Like I said, we need more pilots, and I'm really hoping to get some soon. But overall, this is a great minifigure. I'm a little biased, but still turned out really good, and I'm a big fan of that clone trooper. Then I have the ARC Trooper. I should probably mention, there's a new tier break right after the Phase 1 pilot. We are in another tier break. And that means, just the same thing as the previous one. It's that these next few clone troopers are very close, but not as close as the ones before. But these are just some ones that I like a bit more than the previous ones. And the first is the ARC Trooper. I think this is a very nice minifigure, a perfect minifigure. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about it. I love all of the different pauldrons, all of the different accessories that we get with him. And overall, I think it's perfect in my opinion. It's just these coming clone troopers I like a bit better. And the next clone trooper I have is the Phase 1 Clone Lieutenant. Both variations, and there's two variations with the different leg printing, but this one, super sick in my opinion. I'm a big fan of that blue coloring, which is the reason that it's up here. I really like that baby blue. It looks really cool in my opinion. And after him, a bit higher on the list than people probably would have expected, I have the 187th Phase 2 Reg. I think it's a really cool minifigure. I love purple. I think it looks sick, and I'm a big fan, and I really need to pick up some more of those because they're getting kind of pricey on the aftermarket. Then I have the Kashyyyk Scout Trooper. I am a huge fan of the Kashyyyk Troopers, as you probably already know if you watch my channel, so has to come up here. That camo pattern is perfect, and I'm really hoping to see them come soon. And right after the Kashyyyk Scout, I have the Phase 2 Kashyyyk Regs. Once again, perfect, really nice, really cool in my opinion. I'm a big fan, and I'm hoping that LEGO does it justice when they remake them. Then, falling just short of the top 5 in the number 6 spot is Phase 2 Commander Gree. Both variations, a super nice minifigure. I have no complaints. I think it's a really good minifigure, pretty perfect. It just unfortunately did fall out of the top 5. And now we're moving on to the top 5, my 5 favorite clone troopers that LEGO has ever made. In 5th place, we have the 501st Phase 2 Pilot. This is such a sick and underrated minifigure. Only ever came out in the Z95 Headhunter. Pretty expensive one nowadays. Well, not necessarily compared to some of the other ones that we've talked about on this list and are going to talk about. I think it's like $30. We need more of the Phase 2 pilots. I wish that that's what we were getting in the ARC 170. I understand, you know, it's a Revenge of the Sith set, so we're going to get those Revenge of the Sith style pilots, but we need more Phase 2 and Phase 1 clone pilots because the helmet on this guy is just super sick, which is why he is in the number 5 spot. Now, in the number 4 spot, some people may have thought this would be higher, but I have the Shadow ARC Trooper, a super sick minifigure. The May 4th promo, I want this one so bad, but it's like $400, so I have not been able to justify buying it. But overall, super sick minifigure. I love the whole like blackout kind of vibe. It just looks super cool, and this is one that I'm going to buy one day, for sure. Mark my word, I will own this at some point. It's just a little too expensive for me right now. But overall, super cool minifigure. I've always wanted it. I should have bought it back in the day when it was like $80. I was going to buy one on eBay for $80 a couple years ago just because on a whim, and then I didn't because I'm like, $80 for a clone trooper, that's stupid. And now here I am sitting here and it's like $400. But that aside, in number 3, moving on to the top 3, I would put another tier break here. The top 3, some of my favorite clone troopers. Honestly, the 3 of these clone troopers could be swapped around at any time. And in the 3rd place, I have the Phase 1 Wolfpack Trooper, the sand blue, super nice. The detailing on the helmet is amazing. I think it's a perfect clone trooper, and it's in that 2008 style, and I'm nostalgic for it because I had that set. Like I said, 100% biased list. This is 100% my opinion, but I love that Phase 1 Wolfpack Trooper, and it's my definitely my 3rd favorite. Moving on to the number 2 spot, I have the OG Kashyyyk Scout Trooper. This is one, it's a really nice one. It's got that nice OG vibe. It's got some really good printing, especially given the time that it came out. It was definitely ahead of its time, and there's just a really nice charm to this minifigure, and it's one of my favorites. I have to buy a new one because I sold mine, but this is one of my favorites. But the undisputed GOAT, the number 1 clone trooper, which I'm pretty sure you all know by now, is Phase 1 Commander Wolf. Commander Wolf, one of my favorite clone troopers, and I think this version of Commander Wolf that we got is perfect. There's nothing that I would change. It's great in my opinion, and that's why it's in the number 1 spot, because it's my favorite clone trooper that LEGO has ever made. It's great. I have no issues with it. I only have praise for this minifigure, which is why it is in the number 1 spot. And that concludes my list for all of the clone troopers that LEGO has ever made. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you would change about this list and what your lists would be in the comment section down below. And also let me know if I missed any clone troopers, because Bricklink was not including all of them. There was something weird going on there, but I think I got all, if not pretty much all of them. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe. Drew signing out.